Hi. Hi, Kendall.
Hi.
I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. And we are doing a Zoom call for this. It's exciting. And you are in Maryland, correct?
Yes. And I
Yeah.
just hear it in my head, drinks in the library, Gigi Howard.
Yeah. And so you and I have become friends on Instagram, and it's been so fun. And you've got a book that when did your book come out?
It's coming out next week. So it shipped like yesterday, and we've been excitedly like watching the video over and over of them packing it and shipping.
Oh,
But February 1st.
okay. Well, that is so exciting for you. But yeah, so you are here today, and we are talking about a favorite book of yours, right?
Yes.
Libby Lost and Found by Stephanie Booth. And I know you're connected with the author and all kinds of fun stuff. But let's start at the very beginning, which is who were you when you picked up this book?
So I was just in my stay-at-home mom transition kind of identity crisis. I loved my job. Really, you never leave a job that you love for the job. It was management. So I decided, maternity leave was important to me. I needed to go home, filled all my time with just endless reading. And so my son and we lived at the library, and I was aware of the book because one of my favorite tropes is books about books. And any book with the word lost in it, too. I was just like, why are they lost? And so it hit both of those, but I had a massive to be read pile. And so one day we were at the library, and my son kind of hit one of those moments where he's, I'm going to go play with friends, mom. I was like, okay. And he's two. So I was like, thank
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Take a second without me.
Yeah.
And it was on the shelf in like the new, and I was like, oh, yeah, that was on my list. So I picked it up to read and then did not put it down for the next like day and a half. And so it was just, I knew it was on the to be read. I was so happy it bumped up the list because I was going through a lot with the kind of everything going on and new life change. And it just, the book was what you needed when you read it. And of course, I mean, I already love our librarians, but I was like, they put it out there because they know I come every day and they're like changing the display. Like I was convinced, all right, it's for me. So it was a really good book for me in the moment of just this transition of what is going on with a lot of myself. And it was just a warm, cozy read.
Yeah. Did you, well, I don't think, knowing the story, I don't know if you necessarily connected with everything Libby's going through, right? But I mean, what kind of drew you into the book and connected you with the characters and the plot line and all that?
So at the time, it was the idea of the premise. So Libby is that famous author, and my friends had gotten me into fantasy books, and that was part of it. Like I was now home all the time. I was trying to fill my time. My friends were like, get into a huge fantasy series.
Yes.
And I was like, but then it's a commitment. And then they didn't tell me that some of the books that I started on have no ending yet. So I was very upset about that and very bitter. And so when I started reading, and like immediately you as the reader find out Libby's this super famous author who has all of her books out except for the last one, and she gets dementia and can't remember how to finish it. And I felt like it kind of helped me with a little of my anger in some of these fantasy series because I was like, oh, maybe that's why all these books aren't out yet. And so I connected with her on this kind of give people grace and kind of love your authors a little bit more and what they're going through. And then just her mindset of what she loved in the book she created and was trying to hold on to it. That's why I connected with her. And she still drove me crazy like a lot of the time. I'm just like, I mean, I come from the mental health background, so I'm like, ask for help, ask for help. And she doesn't for
Yeah.
the longest time. So I was very frustrated. But in this way of just addressing life when you're not ready to abandon some things and you're not ready to ask for help, and just trying to kind of see through all of that.
Yeah. She finds that she's dementia. She's only 40, right?
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I can't imagine that. That's got to be so hard. And she's all alone. She essentially, right? She was a foster child, and her foster parent is not with us anymore, with her anymore. And so I guess I sort of like it, my heart went out to her a lot and yeah, you like trying to think about giving people grace.
Yeah. And then it was just everything she was like doing for her fans. And I think as a reader, that's just what you kind of wanted to like embrace and hug her. And so what was interesting in the book was when it goes back and forth with the articles and the people waiting on her that don't know who she is and they're just mad at the author. And then you're seeing and you're like, no, she's doing everything for you. She's trying. And
Yes.
so that kind of like push. And I'm like, I wanted her to ask for help. And then ultimately, like the way she does, it's just poetic. And so it kind of all came around for me. And I just connected on the level of like her and then being a super fan of a lot of books and having my favorite authors and stuff, kind of seeing the other side, the dual perspective from a super fan and who
Mhm.
loves the story. And so of course I was like, that's me too.
Well, talking about that a bit, like, who are some of the authors that you consider yourself a super fan of?
And so, and they're, oh, it's just, I always get like when people ask me, they're like, really? I love Chuck Palahniuk. I love the dark and twisted of all of his books. And sometimes, even when people are like, what's your favorite book? I like kind of try and tiptoe on saying Haunted because when they read it, they're like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, yes, it is. It's so twisted and I love it. I never know. So I have all of his books. And then Lori Nataro, she was a humor writer, and hers just was this great. I read her as like a teenager, but it felt like someone's finally saying everything's chaotic. And so I would buy every single thing that she did and just embrace it and love it. And then I'm into the fantasy world. So I love like Patrick Rothenpress, and I just got into Trudy Kavanaugh's Magician's Guild, and I'm new to Brandon Sanderson. I did read Mistborn, and I'm getting into all of those worlds slowly so I don't disappear from my family.
I know. Well, I think I told the episode in the Mistborn episode, but there's that meme of Brandon Sanderson just throwing the books at your head over and over, and they're like the
Yeah.
same. So, yeah. So I wanted to dive in a little bit into the Falling Children series. I guess for someone that hasn't read it, I mean, the obvious read connection would be like a J.K. Rowling Harry Potter
Mm.
hasn't finished the final book because that's like how big this series is in this world.
Yeah. That's what I've been trying to describe it to people. Just imagine if it never came out at the end
Right.
and you're upset.
Yeah. So, but like diving into the series a little bit, like what's it like? What is Falling Children like?
So I was trying, like, it's such a unique world. I was trying to find like another series that exists the same way to say Harry Potter. Like, The Falling Children is a beloved fantasy with this magical element of the children blend it together and struggling. And then she writes up to the second to last book where they're kind of in turmoil from their big bad guy and they're struggling to figure out like how are they going to get out of the magical world that they sort of got trapped into. And she is stuck with how do we get them out? And she kind of reveals through the book some of the children's personality traits and kind of where that came from in her life and her background. And when you meet Peanut, which is the super fan, like which falling children that Peanut kind of relates to. And so it reminded me a little bit of, and I know you did them, but like the Door series, the Doorway series.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So like
Yes.
I had read that sort of when I read this. So like in
Every
my
heart.
head, that's
Yeah.
what I kind of was envisioning is there's this
Yeah.
unique group of different children with all these different abilities and personalities, and they're like trapped in this world. And so when I was envisioning in it, that is what I kind of put in my head is like them being in their different kind of doorways per each of her book. And so it helped
Yeah.
me to be like, this is what.
Yeah, that I think that's a really good analogy actually. I hadn't put that together, but yeah, it's kind of like each child's a little bit different, but they each have different kind of skills and everything. So, and I guess we can't talk about the story with talking about Peanut, the super fan, and how she and Libby come together.
Yes. And so the fun part is Libby finally decides like I need help and she has been on the fanfic boards and seen super fans out there and Peanut was a super fan who has been like writing to her and writing to the board pages and just very involved with the series And Libby decides I'm gonna pretend to be basically like a journalist-ish and go and ask, well, how do you think it ends? And hopes that when Peanut, as a super fan, guesses or kind of gives a theory of the ending, it will jog her on like, how was I supposed to save the falling children? And so you get to go back and forth between the perspectives and really just see what the book meant to Peanut. And it like exactly what I think a lot of us go through when we find that first big series and you're obsessed with it and your family's, what is the deal with this book? And like, why do you love it? And she's like, the best thing ever. And then
Yeah.
she argues with friends and she's, I love it more than you love it. And I'm like, I feel like we all have those moments as a reader.
Yeah.
And so she goes to meet Peanut and kind of hides it. And then a lot of like identity and reality comes to life. And Peanut tries to protect her without other people knowing who she is and kind of goes through like, how do we save the children together?
Are there any, like, villains in the story, do you think?
I guess it's like, I want to say like, I know like Peanut kind of is up against like her family and trying to fight for herself. So I think it's who you connect to as a villain because I saw, yeah, like fighting your family to be like, this is who I am and this is who I love. And Peanut kind of goes through, she doesn't like know, her mom's gone and she feels abandoned as a youth and kind of gets picked on in school. So there's some school bullies and
Yeah.
kind of that resonated as well because I remember being like the only kid who read Harry Potter in my school. So I was like very much a nerd for it and bullied for it. And I was like, but I love Harry Potter. And you couldn't tell me that I wasn't going to get my letter back then. And so that was sort of Peanut up against her family and then up against the bullies in school. And then Libby's up against, they want the last book. And she's up against the world because they really splice in like news stories and articles about like, the world hunting her down to find her. And there's like a billionaire who's going to offer everything to reveal her secrets. And you're kind of like concerned. Just let her do her thing and don't rush it.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you hang on, oh, actually, you know what we need to talk about is Stephanie Booth, because I know you know a lot about the author and you have a connection with her. I'd love to hear about that.
I do. I was in a book club where while I was reading this, like we had an author come to the book club and the book, it was good. I liked it. And the author was just so much fun to talk to. And so when I finished this one, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to tell her how great her book is. And I went on Goodreads and it was like brand new book. So there wasn't a lot of like ratings or anything out there.
Yeah.
And so she had her website, she had the Goodreads, kind of got her email, and I wrote this. Even if you never read this email, I need you to know I hope your book is so big because it's so good and it's refreshing. Like, that year of staying home, I read like over 100 books, and I was just like, I've been reading them all, and there's nothing like this. And so I wrote this like heartfelt email to her and then just kind of forgot about it. And she like responded and said she would come to our book club. And I was just like geeking out. I was like, what? No, you're like famous. But she did. She came to our book club and she's so like real and this she was sharing like fun little tidbits about writing and about her family and like telling her family about kind of releasing the book and but then like she kept asking about us and I would be like, no, 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 I want to talk about the book. And she'd be like, well, this. And she asked me like about my kids. And I mentioned my daughter loves horses. So she started talking about horse books. And I was like, listen, I'm on horse books all day. Let's get back. But it was just fun because it was just like kind of chatting with her and getting all of this story about where it came from and she like had no one in her life and she did all this like research on dementia like it was just an idea and then she researched it and she was telling us about getting letters from people with family members in dementia
Mhm.
and kind of them resonating with the book on that aspect and it was like the most charming thing and then I kept in touch with her like after that because she did remember and would send me horse books for my daughter as she got
Aw.
new ones too.
Yeah.
And then eventually when I kind of took the plunge on my book, I was like, I really just want to show you this because I think like the mental health aspect of your book, you might like it. And she wrote a blurb for the back of my book.
Oh my god.
And she told me because she was like, I don't think I'm the person who should do this. Do you want like a therapist or do you want something like this? And I was like, no, like your book like helped and hit and was like everything I needed. And I was like, it would be like meaningful to me to have something from you and like Libby And so I love like sharing the book. I love tagging her and kind of seeing all that she's doing too.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of curious, like the mental health connection between this and your book a little bit. Like, what would you say the tie is that inspired you?
So I resonate with Libby has dementia and she's really struggling with herself and then kind of looking at the world through it. And my book is about me being a parent with depression. And I wanted to teach it to my kids in a way where I can say, I need to ask for help when you're young. And I need you to know it's not your fault that mom just needs a minute to kind of cope with everything. And so in my book, I use a cloud at a beach day, and it shows, and we have a cloud pillow at home that when I'm having kind of a depressive episode, it's just the cloud rolls in and everything's shady where I am and it's sunny where you are. And so it was my ability to say, that like maybe I'm not ready to ask for help on some days, but I can bring the cloud out and hold it. And you just know that something's going on and it's not your fault. You don't have to sit here and fix mom or be responsible for it, but just kind of give me space. And there was, and I like have it here because there was a quote in the book where Libby says, if we only lived in sunshine, we'd get soaked by the sight of the storm clouds. And I was just like, a lot of the book is about a lot of the characters knowing when to ask for help. So like Libby and her dementia and Peanut and Jesse and her family going through like when do we talk about what's going on in our family and why there's dysfunction. And then there's Buzz, the older brother, who's kind of creepy in the beginning, but like Libby breaks him down and she's you don't have to always be strong for everyone. Like you can have time too. And that link of maybe the diagnosis looks different, but a lot of the overlap was like getting help when you need it with the support that you can.
Yeah. And being willing to reach out for help and take it. All of those things are really hard, I think, for people. I guess that's an important message for you to share as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I see you've got storm cloud earrings on.
Yeah,
Or maybe
always.
yeah, maybe they're not storm cloud, but they're little white clouds. So so cute. What would you say is like the vibe of this story?
I just, I don't know, it's like a hug for readers. I
Okay.
think it's, and I know you tend to ask, and I'm like jumping your question, like who should read it, but I think the vibe is very much just like awareness and empathy for others. So
Mhm.
there's any character kind of has stuff going on, and the vibe is we all have stuff going on. And yes, we all want life to go how it's supposed to go, but things happen and we need to just know we have these people out there and things that mean stuff to us and kind of get through it however we can get through it. And like for Libby, it's finding the children and saving them at the end. And for Peanut, it's like the book needs to come out for her happiness. And for the other characters, it's just how everything can kind of keep going. And there is a quote like nothing's ever wrong that you can't write. And so it's kind of just keep pushing. And so it's like the vibe is a hug because it seems if you say, oh, it's dementia, and you're like, oh, that's gonna be sad. And I'm like, no, but it's not sad. It's like there's
Mhm.
this profound beauty in the sad. So you like take your second to be like, yes, you're coping with what you're coping with, but now you can kind of push through it.
Yeah. I think we all either have or will go through moments of extreme challenge in our life. And I think what I got a lot from the book was like you were saying is like that quote is be kind, everyone you meet is finding a harder challenge. And it's, I mean, I think to point out, even Miley's favorite character in the book, who I would consider like number one villain, is a child with cancer. And I was like, she's terrible, but she has cancer. I mean, you feel for her, and I can't imagine being her parent too. So I think it tries to paint like different, like all those shades of gray where we sometimes like to have moral, this person is good, this person is bad. And I think a lot of the characters had that kind of moral ambiguity, and you're meeting them at different points in their life.
Yeah. I worked in the field of like neurodivergent, and I had this one boss because I was having like a really rough day. And he was like, just so you know, just because they're neurodivergent, they can still be a jerk. Like, you have to tell yourself, like, yeah, like everyone has stuff going on, and just kind of give grace and not excuses too, and all this stuff. And so it was that kind of look at, are you a villain? Yeah, the cancer kid was like,
She's really mean. If anyone's like listening to this and they're like, Gigi, how can you hate a person with cancer? I don't, but she was really mean. Yeah. So, who would you say is your favorite character in the book?
Just it had to be Libby. I mean,
Yeah.
even when I was frustrated, I was like, Peanut took me a while because in the beginning with the falling children having like their magical elements, and I was just reading a bunch of fantasy. I was trying to decide, is this more magical realism? Peanut was envisioning stuff and it was like her imagination and pretend in her head, but I was trying to figure out, wait, no, is this happening? And it took me like a few chapters, and because of that, it took me a minute to be like, are you just like very wonderfully strange? Or is this a thing? So I would say Libby.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something to point. Can you talk a little about the setting of the town that Peanut lives in and its connection to the Falling Children series?
Yeah, I mean, it basically is like when you read yourself in a book and you're like, that's my town. And she came from like this seemingly like middle of nowhere town, and that's the only people you're around. And they all kind of think opposite of Peanut. And you sort of over time find the like immense overlap of why Peanut felt this story was written for her and that she might secretly be it, because just everything kind of lined up and clicked. And I think there was a beauty in that. And that's why I say, like, this book is for readers, because there's that beauty when you see yourself in a book and what it does to change how you feel about your surroundings. Because Peanut can then be like, oh, it's not just this small little nothing town. It's actually like the town in the Falling Children, and envision
Mhm.
it that way. And so that's how she really connects to it.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting too. There's a point where they're in the town. I can't remember the name off of the top of my head, but that's okay. They're in the town and nothing has changed since the 80s. Like they still have I don't know if it was a blockbuster, but it sounded like a blockbuster. They have like a gun show. If you're from North Carolina, there's a place called Tweetsee Railroad, and it would be like Tweetsee or a blast from the past, and they would have like gunslinger shows. And there's Peanut's sister is in one of those. Like she every day she reenacts being on a train. And then that's just like in the Falling Children series where everything's stuck in the 80s. And I thought that was so interesting.
I'm glad, like, I was really worried in the end it was going to be some like form of the dementia where she like forgot that that was like the whole town the whole time. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
wait. But I'm glad it was like the parallel and the idea of it, and not like on the nose, though.
Right. Yeah. I think I was kind of worried or
Yeah.
wondering how it was going to all tie together. But anyway, we don't want to give away too much too, but still you are sort of wondering the whole time where are the connections to this. I wanted to bring up too. So you came up with our cocktail recipe and I did make myself one. And
Hmm.
so it's
Oh,
a
your glass is fancy.
I don't normally don't get to. I was like looking up. I was like, what do you put in a black? It's a black Manhattan, but it's your own special recipe. So tell us about it.
And so when I was trying to think of what represents this book, I think because Libby's dementia, I was like, what is my go-to cocktail if I like panic and I don't know what to order somewhere? And I was like, Black Manhattan. Now, if they have it or not is like, but that is my like tried and true. I will always love this and remember it. And so I was like, okay, well, that was going to be how I represent Libby, is going to be my memory drink. But I had reached out to Stephanie and I was like, what is your go-to drink? And she was just like, coffee. And so I decided to take a Black Manhattan and add a little coffee liqueur twist to it. So it kind of represents both of us. And then it was fun because I asked, what would Libby drink? And she sent me the drink recipe, which is going to be my second drink of the night. It's going to be, it was a hot toddy with a twist on it. And it was so cool because I love hot toddies too. But the twist was Amaro which is what makes the Black Manhattan. And I was like, you didn't even know, but that is a kismet answer of what I made. So, and then when I told her that, she was like, that's just fun. And I was like, so it kind of reminded me of like Peanut connecting with the story too. And I was like, ah, yes, it all twisted together.
I know it's giving me that vibe now as well. But it's yeah, they're so good and it's so beautiful. And so yeah, I made it tonight and I'm really enjoying it. I don't drink Manhattans too often, but this one's got a little bit of a sweetness to it. It doesn't have that's like sort of strong bitterness. I guess this is the Amaro
Yeah.
that kind of makes it fun. I wanted to switch gears for a second. We've already talked a little bit about your book, but like anything else you want to share with listeners about your like your beginning your writing process or how you what inspired to you to do what inspired you to write the book? Yeah.
Yeah, it was my children. So it was a bedtime story. And I had told my husband, because we like me, I love scrapbooking and making little things. And like when we told people we were pregnant, we had wrote like a little story to reveal the second kid to have everyone read because they all read her bedtime stories. And so at first I was like, I'm going to write this down so she has a version of what we always talked about when she was little, because eventually we're going to use the word depression and I want her to remember the cloud. And so as I was writing it down, I was like, I just kind of want to share this with others. And so it became like more than a book. And I'm trying to really like focus on the platform of it for, I call it the Cloudy Day Chronicles, and having a space where I am like blogging about hard parenting days and like it's okay to not be okay. And I'm using Substack to share resources because the places I go are great for me, but they might not be great for everyone. So I'm finding other resources out there for people to check out. And so when I started writing it, my daughter Alma, she like was helping me write it. I would say I would give her options of lines, be like, "What would you say?" And she got to name some of the characters and stuff. And so it just became this. I was going through health stuff and writing it with my family was like how we were distracting ourselves from kind of the real world of everything to kind of keep the clouds away, but at the same time bring it in a positive way. And so we've just been enjoying kind of the journey of it and getting to meet a lot of great organizations from doing it as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. Well, and I hope you're okay with me asking, but I am curious, like, what kind of advice would maybe you give to yourself or to someone else, another parent that also maybe struggles with depression? Maybe give advice to yourself at the beginning of this journey. I think that would be helpful.
No, I'll steal a line from Libby Lost and Found because I have it on my laptop as a reminder, and
Okay.
it's never stop when you can go. And I think that's it. So like for so long, when my husband and I got married, I was like, I don't want kids. Like I have depression. I don't want that to be in their life. And it was just kind of like, well, it can be in their life, but we can make it positive.
Oh,
And we have. And so there's a lot of times where I'll have these moments where I'll ask my husband, like, I'll start to say, I was like, oh, man, I'm about to ask you if I'm being a good mom. And I know you're going to say you're being a good mom just because you're asking. And like, I'll kind of answer my own question. And so I think my advice for parents in all of this is just, it's okay to talk to your kids. My daughter's 4, my son's 2, and they get it. It's using a language to say, Mom has a cloud, something's different. I still love you so much. And I'm glad you're here, even though I have a cloud. And so it's kind of defining yourself as it being a part of you and not all of you. And so anything a parent is struggling with, and the second you feel like you're the worst parent, if you feel that, then you're not, because you had your like inner empathy to know that you cared enough to worry about what you were doing. And not every parent does that. They just kind of move on and say, I'm the parent, this is how it goes. And so my goal is to have parents fight that inner doubt.
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing because so many people struggle with depression and other mental health things. So I think it's helpful for people like you to share like your journey and so other people know that they're not alone. So thank you. And you just mentioned a quote that you have on your laptop. I wanted to take a moment if there's anything else about Libby Lost and Found that you wanted to make sure we got to.
Oh, I just love it. I know. I love it. I think even all the depth to the book, just the whole concept I thought was brilliant because I feel like a lot of us fantasy readers, like we're all waiting on the next book for something. And I was like, it's just such a good idea that like it's not coming for some specific reason. And I want her to write other ones and be like, name all of the reasons why authors aren't finishing my books. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I don't know if you listen. I often bring up George R. Martin, who I
Yeah.
have. Yeah, because it's just like Winds of Winter is never happening, and but I'm not chasing him down at this point. But anyway, so maybe I'm sure there's reasons for it, but.
Yeah.
Give him grace. Okay, and we already talked a little bit out, but I always ask who would you recommend this story to? I mean, anyone else you would add or any other thoughts you have to, because that's my librarian question, right? Because that's the point. Every book its reader, every reader is book. So, you know,
I think it would be, I don't want to say like any reader because not everyone like reads in depthly and gets connected to things. So I think the book is really for anyone who like has an absolute favorite author or has a story that they read that was like, this story is my life and it is a part. Like I have book tattoos on me because the second I read them, I was like, I'm getting those tattoos. And so I think it's those people are who this book is for. It's like when you love a book and it becomes a part of an identity and a feeling, and you just enjoy the world immensely. And then you want to feel like all of those experiences, then read Libby Lost and Found because you can just be like, oh, yes, I was Peanut at this age. And now like I am older and I like resonate with Libby and just all the different vibes of it.
yeah. I love that too. And I think like fantasy readers, let's say think of fantasy, romance readers
Mhm.
especially. I think this would definitely fall in for, like you said, people who love those worlds. So before we go, let's put a spotlight on you. Like where can people find you? I know the book is coming out on February 1st, which is so exciting.
Yeah, I am on Instagram at Cloudy Day Chronicles. And then I have, it's all the same stuff. So then it's cloudydaychronicles.org is my website, and cloudydaychronicles.substack is my resources page. And I will say, because I want to share with you because it's exciting. So any day I'm going to make the video because I'm learning like Canva and stuff. But I do acts of kindness with a person in Mary Mintmaker in Baltimore. And so we've just been doing like fun acts of kindness around kind of our area and spreading love and joy. But this organization, Drop Dead Generous, gave us money to go do an act of kindness. And we picked librarians.
Hey.
We love our librarians. We live there. We live in a really great spot where we're by three different branches. So we have access to a lot more materials. And so we have been going and buying full breakfasts for the librarians. We've been getting like the fancy K-pods. I got the internet and a bunch of friends I harassed to write like love letters, and we made a little box so every day they can put a new letter in the slot and read it. And then we've been giving tea and stickers for them to then pass kindness forward. So we gave them a bundle to give to all their patrons to see their patrons smile. And it was just, I'm going to post the video soon because we're not done with it yet because we have a few more libraries to like surprise. But it is really cute because we dropped it off at the last one and they were like, yeah, word's gotten out that you've been going around and everyone's excited. And I told my husband, I was like, oh no, like we only have two more left. I was like, now we have to go. Like, so we kind of cut a little bit to then hit more libraries and kind of change it up. And then even my daughter, she loves the one. So she was like, they could have my Five Below money. I'll get them
Oh.
donuts. And I'm like, it's just been so great. And so that's also what I love. Like I hear about everything you're doing as a librarian. I'm like, yes, we love librarians
Yeah.
and everything you do is amazing.
Thank you so much. And that is such a sweet project. I know the librarians that are getting that love are, so appreciative, I'm sure. Thank you so much. I'm getting the love too here. So that's amazing.
And I listened to the Doubters Almanac and I was like, I'm gonna make my own Libby party. And it
Yeah, yes, yeah, that one was a lot of fun. So, and this has been so much fun too. So, Kendall, thank you for everything you brought tonight, and cheers with our our souped up Black Manhattans.
yes.
Yeah, so all right, cheers. And do.